Mr. Andrew Chamberlain. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I can't believe we've hit the big 1-5. Oh, is that even a thing? The big 150?
Big 150. I don't know. I think that's more than diamond. That's like, I mean, you should have sent me something really, really impressive.
I
Where
did.
is it?
Didn't you get it? Didn't you get it? It was hidden behind
No,
that
I had to
massive
buy these
bouquet of
flowers for
flowers.
myself. I had to buy these flowers for myself. So, drum roll. We still don't have sound effects even after 150 episodes, but big anniversary, big number, and a big guest appropriate for the occasion. But first, Elisa Pratt, your co-host, Association Transformation, the podcast. And I am so excited. We met speaking at an association event, so I felt like this fit. Um, Ethan Zohn, hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Wonderful to
Of
be here.
course. I mean, this isn't too much of a stretch. I mean, you're the co-founder of Grassroots Soccer. You are the staff executive of a nonprofit organization. So you speak this language. You should be, I mean, you've been in much more uncomfortable situations than this. I know that.
Yes, suffering is in my blood, and we can get into that. But yes, I'm the co-founder of Grassroots Soccer, and which is an adolescent health organization. And yeah, it's been my passion for the last 23 years.
That's amazing. Well, you started when you were so young.
I did. And now I'm so I feel like I'm 150 episodes old.
There you exactly. Oh, believe me, I feel like
Yeah, talk about sufferings in
episodes
your
age
blood.
you.
My God.
It's like dog years. Each episode is like 3 years of life or 4 years of life. It's a lot.
I'm aging as we.
Um, but you and I, again, we were speaking at an association space. You were there for much different reasons. I mean, you're pretty much a celebrity, and our first celebrity on Association Transformation. Andrew, you don't. I know you're not a reality TV guy, but Ethan's not familiar to you. He doesn't look somewhat familiar.
I'm really sorry, Ethan. I'm really sorry. I'm your number one fan, but I've only ever heard you on the radio. I've never actually seen you. So
On the
face to face.
radio.
So I didn't recognize you when I saw you come out on the screen. Until you started talking, and then I was like, oh, it's Ethan,
What?
right? Of course, yeah.
The winner of Survivor Africa does not look familiar to you?
I'm afraid
Well,
not.
you're
I'm
better
really.
off. That reality TV stuff, it's bad for you.
It's
You
not
can
real.
go
Yeah,
away.
but I mean, it had to give you some pretty amazing, unique skill sets that now you've obviously translated into a successful nonprofit world, your own business enterprises. I'm interested to know. I want to think of the executive director or the CEO of a nonprofit kind of as Jeff Probst, where
Ooh,
he's
okay.
helping the board members through their tasks, through their survival, trying to get the best out of them. I mean, you have a board, right? Grassroots Soccer has a board of directors. What
Yes.
what do you bring from the survivor experience to
I
a
think there's a
boardroom? Because we know
stretch to
they've
say
gotten pretty wild.
that
Boardrooms
Jeff
can get
Probst wants.
pretty.
Yeah, Probst, that's a stretch. Getting him saying he likes to help us and usher us through this complicated game. He also likes to trick us, and he likes to make us suffer, like I said before, and take away food,
Okay, you're right. You're
water, and
right. That may
shelter,
not
and
be a good
family, and
analogy.
phones. No, anyway. Um, but bottom line is this: Survivor is a game of relationships. It's one big 39-day association networking event. And it's how you
Oh
work with the other
God.
players and how you interact with the other players that determine how far and how well you're able to go in the game. And so if you can think of the game of Survivor in that way, I can kind of easily translate
Yeah.
that to kind of the philanthropic world that I live in, the associations that we deal with on a daily basis. So yeah, it's a game of relationships.
There you go. And I mean, I know a 39-day networking event makes Andrew want to like just throw himself off a cliff, but
39 minutes. I'm thinking, oh my God, 39
he's like,
days.
can we go? Can we go?
Yeah,
But
but
you're
it's really
right.
about like in Survivor, it's understanding yourself, and knowing how other people respond to you, and knowing what you bring to the table, right? So like when I was out there on Survivor playing the game, like I'm not the A-type personality, the guy who likes to bark orders, deliver, bad news, good news. That's just not my style of leadership. So in that particular situation, I realized that I need to be the guy behind the guy. There's a guy that wanted to be the natural leader, so I just let him take that role. I sat behind. So what ended up happening is this natural leader would complain to me about all the other tribe mates that we were playing with, and all the tribe mates would complain to me about this leader. And that just left me to filter that information and spit it out how I wanted to help myself get further in the game. Yes, a little
Yeah.
bit manipulative, but if you put that into the business construct, I think it makes perfect sense.
Right. Well, and that self-awareness and really the ecosystem of relationships, it works not
Mm.
only for your volunteers, your leaders, your board members, your staff, but really your, in your case, maybe your donors or the kids that you're getting to work with. And that's a lot of relationships to manage. And I think that's where we talk about burnout in the nonprofit space. You're giving so much of yourself to these relationships that I wonder, especially an organization like yours. I mean, you guys started out as one thing, you know, kind of HIV focused, and now have moved into more of a broader wellness scope. Tell me a little bit about grassroots soccer and what it's taught you about the nonprofit world.
Yeah, yeah, we
Maybe
can
that's the more
take a step
dangerous
back.
game
Yeah.
is the nonprofit world.
It is. It definitely is, especially now with what's going on in the world for especially organizations like Grassroots Soccer, where we do most of our work outside the United States. But let's go back in time a little bit. The year is 1999. I traveled to Zimbabwe to play in the Zimbabwe Premier League for a team called the Highlanders Football Club, former professional soccer player. And while I was there, I just witnessed what was happening with HIV and AIDS. I was destroying this community that I lived in. A couple of my teammates got HIV, kicked off the team, ostracized from the community. So at that time in my life, 27 years old, didn't really know what I could do about this. So didn't do anything about it, shelved it, not my problem. I get chosen to be on the hit CBS reality television show Survivor, which also happened to take place in Africa and Kenya, actually. And so while I was there, I had an experience with one of these reward challenge where I got to play hacky sack with all these Kenyan children. Later to find out they were HIV positive. So I got back from the show. I got $1 million in my pocket. I got a platform and a lot of fame at the time. And I used that money to co-found Grassroots Soccer. And Grassroots Soccer is an adolescent health organization that's using the power of soccer to educate, inspire, and mobilize young people to make smarter choices in life. And so we started in just 7 schools in Zimbabwe, and now we're in over 65 countries and graduated 25 million kids from the program. So in terms of creating an association that is global, that is impacting the lives of young boys and girls is pretty rewarding, and it's challenging at times, and but it's just something that I love to do.
It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Well,
Oh, sorry, Lisa. I was just going to say,
no,
the
please.
reach is extraordinary. Those numbers are, I think I would argue, the world that we live in, the membership world, I think those numbers seem almost incomprehensible. 25 million. I mean, it's mad, and the amount of relationship,
That's
the relationship management that's required to kind of maintain momentum, realize, and ultimately realize your impact. I mean, I'm assuming you're the tip of a much larger iceberg, as it were. To be able to have that reach across that many communities must be, I'm assuming you've got quite an extraordinary team underpinning you as well.
Yeah, I mean the we have about 100 full-time staff. We have 23,000 trained coaches around the world, and our model is a training of trainers type of model. So we'll go in and we'll partner with another organization, train them with the grassroots soccer curriculum, make sure it's sustainable for a couple of years, implement a really robust monitoring and evaluation component to what we're doing. And you talked about a little bit outcomes. That's how we're able to manage such a huge team globally, is because we can
Yeah.
actually track the outcomes of the work that we're doing, and we can really hyper focus on areas that may not be performing so well in certain different aspects of our surveys, right? So then we know we can go in and, okay, they're not really performing well in the you know gender norm issues that we're discussing. So we need to focus a little bit more on those guys. And that's how we can do quality control. We can make sure things are working well, that our coaches are doing the proper job, that our partners are funding this properly. And so that's how we're able to grow to scale, is because we can train, let's say, 200 gym teachers in Ethiopia, and they're going back to the respective schools, and then they're training each of their schools. And that's
yeah.
how we're able to grow and scale and be able to track what we're doing.
You mentioned partners, and we only work with a handful of really truly charitable philanthropic organizations. Most of our clients are kind of membership associations, membership organizations. But in this modern world, are the donor channels drying up? Are you having to
Mm.
rethink partnerships? What does this modern world look like for you guys?
The modern world for organizations like us is very challenging right now due to some cuts with the US government. We've lost an incredible amount of funding. But not only that, is our partners, the way we're able to scale and work with other people. So usually our partners will get funding to hire grassroots soccer to train them. However,
Yeah.
all our partners lost
Yeah.
funding, right? So we lost funding, partners lost funding. So now as an organization, we're scrambling, we're adapting like Survivor, and we're trying to figure out innovative ways to scale what we do without the use of our partners, which is our traditional model. And so that's just been a thing that a lot of organizations, not just grassroots soccer, is trying to figure out what to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So in that space, Andrew and I were talking just today about recruiting volunteer leaders and how you go out into your existing relationships and get people to say yes. Maybe it's not a check that we're asking for. It's even the more difficult ask, which is their time or their name or their endorsement. How do you guys go about building your tribe, building that board, that group of board members?
Well, from from a high level like executive situation, pretty much a lot of our board members have been people we know and we've known for a while. Soccer happens to be like the ultimate convener. Like soccer is the world sport. A lot of our board members have either played soccer at a high level or their kids are currently playing soccer or they're a soccer fan. So our initial, entry point to a lot of these situations is soccer and sports. And then you kind of peel back the layers a little bit, and some might be interested in public health or marketing or however that works in the board member. But we made a conscious decision early on in the organization to switch from like a working board to more like of a giving board, right? So either give or get to be part of the grassroots soccer board. Early on, we were just kind of like, do you have a skill set that we can use that we don't have to pay for? But then once that we actually needed to raise money, and the we're able to raise money is through our board members. Like we just launched a capital campaign, $35 million in 5 years. And so we're about halfway done, and that has significantly come through our board members and the relationships that our board members have.
So, Andrew, this is a question for you. I mean, you're the governance guy. When you say to a board member, I'm going to need you to raise money, a lot of times in our space, they run the other direction. That is the last thing they want to do. So, does this require the staff to figure out the job description of the board first, or is this about the mission and how to advance it? Or to Ethan's point, is this about the skill sets, what you have to work with as it relates to your talent?
Well, I think, in an ideal world, it's a combination of all of the above, isn't it? In an ideal world, you want to have that balance where you've got energy and expertise, connections and relationships that you can apply around the board table, as well as in the operational context. I think, in our world, my goodness, it's a challenge to get some people to come to board meetings, never mind actually give up, their skills and expertise, or I say give up, contribute their skills and expertise to to what we would perceive as a much bigger cause. I guess it's interesting because it's a different model to the one that we're used to working with, in the sense that I'm interested in a lot of the things we talk about a lot is that kind of the crossroads, or rather the meeting point between volunteerism and professionalism, because the reality is you're a huge entity. You're having big impact. The types of numbers you're talking about, that's not, rattling
Right.
the
This is a
tin
weighty responsibility.
35 million in 5 years, to be able to generate that, but then manage that resource, put it out the door responsibly, engage with, the appropriate, vehicles for distributing that money. That actually, and I think one of the things that our sector struggles with is that marriage, if you like, between that partnership between the energy and the enthusiasm that our volunteers bring to the table, but then we also need to make sure there is an underpinning of professionalism around that. And I am curious, when you're saying, actually, I was quite surprised when you said, well, I've got a team of 100. That actually still doesn't sound like a lot of people to me. I know the model you've got is you're rolling it out. I completely understand that, and I get it. And it's clearly a sustainable model, which is fantastic. But I still don't think 100 people sounds like a lot. I still think, gosh, you're really just sort of, on a wing and a prayer almost, I think, a lot of the time, I should imagine. But
I
But we're
mean,
yeah.
rooting for you. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
we're
My
rooting
gosh.
for
Yeah,
you.
I'm massively impressed. I'm like, my God, the fact that you can do that is extraordinary. Cross
well, thank you.
border, cross
Yeah.
borders, and in economies and in social environments where it's not the easiest. I've done a lot of work, as you have, in Ethiopia and Kenya, Uganda. Those countries are unique to work in, and they have their own distinct set of challenges. And so, being able to actually function on the ground, and get to the point of delivery efficiently, and with as much of that 35 million as possible is
Yeah.
is is, is an extraordinary achievement.
Yeah, this
Thank
is actually great. Andrew, let's introduce Ethan to Jeffers and
Yes,
talk
I
to
was
him
thinking
about
that
the
as he was talking.
There's an
Yeah, yeah.
African
Hmm.
Association of, Society of Association Executives,
you.
and we should talk to them
Are those
about another.
associations nonprofit organizations in their own right?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct. So I
yeah.
don't know in that case if they're NGOs or if they
They do
are
have to raise money as an association
associations.
or their
You,
lead
in
or
most
their
cases, it may come from dues
yeah.
or membership or registrations, or it may be a donation base. But yeah, Jeffers is
That's kind
amazing. That organization is great.
I mean, we do work in a, I mean, not going to say it's a similar way, but like when I said we have 23,000 trained coaches, we don't pay our coaches.
No.
But what we do is we offer them 2 years with grassroots soccer. And part of those 2 years, we will give you coach education, like how to start a computer, how to write a resume, how to do
Yeah,
interview skills, open a bank account, save for the future.
Yeah.
So for the coaches that come, we're just really trying to open up doors for education and or future employment. And
yeah,
by spending 2 years with grassroots soccer as a volunteer coach, and we pay for transport money and food and stuff like that, but they're all of a sudden graduating with something than
Yeah.
other than nothing. And so that's an employable skill or educational skill. So that's how we're able
Yeah.
to get our volunteers to show up for us. We've created this culture of learning and education and obviously doing good. Like helping other people survive crisis is a really awesome feeling.
Yeah.
And for people who come from really disadvantaged areas to be able to focus on the plight of other human beings, help you heal as a human being, and
yeah.
enables you to kind of go out and do more stuff in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. You talk about. I mean, I have absolutely in our context, I have no problem whatsoever with there being a personal benefit to an individual as a volunteer.
There should be.
Like you
There
said, there
should be.
absolutely has to be. I mean, let's not pretend that we're not all, will, yeah, yeah, so for there to be an opportunity for me to learn and benefit from
Yeah.
an experience whilst also contributing to that, so you're creating a circular economy of
Yeah.
goodwill, good energy, good skills development that just feeds back into the communities in which they live in. And it's interesting actually because I don't think there should be that much of a I don't think there should be this cavernous gap between the philanthropic world, the charitable philanthropic world, and the membership trade association member
I
development
don't
world
think there is.
well, I think sometimes
I think they think
we
they're
don't think there
different.
is, yeah, but I
Yeah.
think sometimes people perceive that to be the case, and it shouldn't be because ultimately, again, we're all community focused entities looking to give back, contribute to how we define our community. Well,
Right.
there's so many different ways of how we do that. But actually, the principles are pretty much the same. And I think the more that we can learn from the work that you guys are doing and the models, your business models, and your engagement models, I think the better because
Yeah. Same.
it should inspire absolutely
But as
across
associations,
sectors.
you guys receive a benefit. Someone entering a association or paying their dues, donation,
Yeah.
they're getting something in return that's going
Correct.
to benefit them as, a business person. So I think it's a fair trade, I guess you can say.
Well,
Hmm.
and I
Hmm.
love this discussion around of the volunteer value proposition. I've argued for a long time that people aren't just doing this for the good of the order anymore. There should be, and it's okay for volunteers to have a selfish motivation that they're giving something of sincere value to you, and it should be okay and not looked down upon or judged if they're asking what's in it for them. I talk about my volunteers' love languages. What's their love language? Do they want training? Do they want recognition? Do they want to be spotlighted? All volunteers will have different love languages. And I don't think we should second guess the need to have a volunteer value proposition that we're able to communicate to them. I mean, when we talk about recruiting board members, especially if they're going to be out pounding the pavement asking for checks, what do board members get? Is there a leadership development component? Is there a networking or introduction where you're introducing them to other business people? Have you guys gotten to that level where you're looking at what's in it for the board member?
I think our board members are at a level where they feel like they want to give back in a big way.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them aren't necessarily in it for them. I mean, they're in it for themselves. We've
So you get
created
to focus on the appreciation part of it.
Yeah, right now our entire board is in Zambia and South Africa right now on a board trip. You know, they're visiting the organization, going on safari, right? Like, so that's I'm not saying that's why they join, but they get to see the program firsthand, and we're
Yeah.
bringing them over to on the ground. And that's going to translate, we hope, to, maybe bigger donations. They're going to reel some people in, their friends and family, to come get involved with the organization. So it's all
Yeah.
cultivation of our donors, and it's all relationship building. That's what it's all about.
Andrew, you could start grassroots rugby.
Well, yeah.
Does that exist? Andrew, this could be your thing.
Yeah, we don't do it, but there are definitely a lot of rugby organizations that use the sport of rugby to deliver some sort of health intervention.
Yeah,
Whether it's-
absolutely.
If there was a gap in the market, Lisa, I would have done it. But Ethan's
Well,
made the
I know
point,
you're not a
someone's
footballer.
already
I know
doing
you're
it.
not a footballer. So
And
I
it's a
just
long,
wanted
it's
to,
a long time since I was a rugby player as well.
I just want to give,
no
rugby
one
a
will
little
know,
plug
just talk
for you.
about it.
Oh my goodness. So given you have such a diverse life experience, and we haven't even gotten into all the layers of it. What do you, as you speak to these groups, you get brought in to be a keynote speaker and speak to corporate clients and nonprofit clients. When you're sitting in this room of people who obviously care about whatever their mission is, I know you and I met with an oncology group, so cancer doctors, pretty inspiring in themselves. What is your most common kind of keynote theme? What's your big deliverable to some of these groups?
I guess for me, I live by the saying these days, never let a crisis go to waste, because
Yeah.
it's an opportunity to do some really important things. And while I've had an incredible uh, um, happy, successful life, I've been through some challenges as well. And I feel in every one of those challenge moments, I take that challenge, I accept it, and then I turn it outward to help others.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I live my life. But I try to kind of, share that message with the audiences, in addition to a little bit of what we were just talking about today on what makes a good leader, what makes, being a leader, being a teacher, being a member of a community, being selfless in a selfish game, being a failure and learning from your mistakes. All these things are so important for business leaders, for associations, and those are kind of some of the messages that I try to, get across to the audience.
So for Survivor fans like myself, I know I picked your brain and asked all the awkward questions about, do they give you toilet paper and stuff? No,
they
Andrew,
don't.
you're not thinking that?
Wondering.
Come on.
I'm not thinking it because I don't know what it is, right? I'm really sorry, Ethan. I don't know what it is.
All right, I'm going to give him this assignment. He's going to watch this.
Right?
You got to go back and watch season 3, season 8, season 40.
There you go.
40.
I had to
Season
go.
40.
We're coming up on season 50 for all your Survivor
Yeah, we're
fans
coming
out
up on
there. We got a
season
big one
50.
coming up. Season 50, yeah.
Andrew, you've made me go back and watch weird British shows to know what you're talking about.
Series
Come on.
3. I'm writing this down. Series 3, Series 8, and Series 40. Right, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to
you're
do
fine,
it.
Actually,
but-
just season 3. That's the best.
All right, mate. Okay. And then I'm
There
going to
you
be like,
go.
oh my God, I know that guy. I know him.
Exactly.
And I know that he's
I'll be
listening to him.
unrecognizable, I'll tell you that.
And
That's
he's
right.
listening to that guy, and he's also listening to those guys, and he's just sat in the middle of you. Noticed how he's just manipulating everybody. And so they'll be like, oh my God, eh?
If I
So
win
I
that million again, let me know.
So just for the Survivor fans out there,
Yes.
what's the question you always get asked, and what's the most surprising piece of information you share with Survivor fans that they wouldn't expect?
Right. They're always like, is it real? Or like they ask, where do you go to the bathroom? things along those lines. You know, the important,
The
media,
important stuff.
the important stuff, right? If you have medicine, do you get to take your medicine? Were you really that hungry? So all those things that, but for Andrew, Survivor is they 20 people, deserted an exotic location, split up into teams or tribes. You're given tasks or challenges. You hunt for idols and clues. And then every few days, you vote one person off until there's only three people left. Then everyone you vote off, they come back and they get to vote for who they want to give $1 million to for outwitting, outlasting, and outplaying everyone else. So that's kind
Oh,
of Survivor in a nutshell.
There you
okay.
go. That's good.
It's a really political, social
Yeah.
game in addition to a kind of mental and physical game.
So translating this into, again, my
Yeah.
last association question.
Oh, this is
When you
great.
have a tribe member, i.e. a board member who's not performing,
Mm.
how do you vote them out? Because
Uh,
we all know we have board members that are underperforming, that are not, that said yes, whether they knew what they were saying yes to or not, but they are losing challenges. They are holding us back. They are causing problems for whatever reason. As you in your real life experience, how do you I mean, you're dealing with big, fancy, corporate, rich, amazingly, accomplished people. How do you have that conversation of you're not pulling your tribal weight?
well, if it was in the game of Survivor, I may keep that person around because it would make them the bigger target for a longer
Yeah,
period of time. And it would be what we call the meat shield. So if
the
someone
meat
is there
shield.
that's disrupting everything, I would keep them around to take the heat off of me. But that this isn't the world isn't Survivor.
Correct.
That's a different strategy. But and we're how do we have a conversation with people who aren't performing well? I mean, and vote them out. That's a tough question. Like, I don't know if I've ever really been in the, I don't know if I've ever actually fired
You've
anyone.
never had a board member not hit their
Yeah,
fundraising or not
no,
show up
we
to enough
have, and
meetings?
yeah, we have, and then it just gets back to just having personal connections with them and asking, if they're fulfilling, their job. Do they want to be here? And it's mostly been amicable departures from our board members. And we do have, it's a two-year thing. So after 2 years, we'll have a conversation anyway. So
Yeah.
we may or may not wait till their contract is up.
Okay. All right. Well, that's less dramatic
Yeah,
and
less dramatic. How would
Survivor.
you, I'm going to flip it back on you two. How would you,
Mm.
as the expert
Oh,
here, fire someone or get rid of them or make sure they're performing better?
yeah,
Go on.
Andrew.
No, go on, Lisa. Go on. You asked the question. Yeah,
Well, I
I've
thought it's
fired plenty
interesting.
of people. I don't have a problem. I know how to do it.
It's
You'd be great on
interesting.
Survivor.
It's interesting that you mentioned the terms because I think how long a person is serving on the board matters. But I often will ask whoever the head board person, the board chair, whoever's the most senior person in leadership to have, as you mentioned, a personal conversation. Is the underperforming board member, are they going through something? Are they not being fulfilled by this? This isn't what they signed up for? Can we give them an easy exit that still allows them to be who they want to be and be perceived as whom they want to be. You can also transition a leader into something that's a better fit. Maybe they're better on a very policy driven committee, or maybe they are a fundraiser but not a leader. Maybe they are an event planner type person instead of a recruiter. So I think being aware of what someone's strengths are and how they're perceived.
Yeah.
Andrew and I are also big advocates for board leadership training.
Mm.
Oftentimes these individuals are coming to us with a passion for the mission and
Mhm.
a willingness to serve, but they don't have the other
Mm.
skill sets. They may not have the communications tools. They may not have the governance education, and we can give them that.
Mm.
We can train up a person with the right motivation and the right energy to be a better board member.
Right.
And we find often organizations don't invest enough in that training.
I agree.
So that's often our first would be to that relationship investment and conversation, then trying to give them the tools.
Mm.
And then if that still fails and they have their term, to fulfill, then other conversations would be had.
Yeah, that's
Right,
smart.
Andrew? Isn't that what
Yeah,
you were going
no,
to say?
it is. No, it is. It's spot on. It's like it's like I'd written you the script. I was going
Oh,
to say is
shut
though,
up.
sadly, what we do see often actually is that when it's not going well, um, we end up giving the direct, the board member $1 million. and celebrating them rather than tackling the issues. We elevate them to a position, that says, "Oh, well, we're almost gonna put you out to pasture with $1 million. There you go, and you can be the figurehead, you can be the face of, but you won't have anything to do."
Yeah.
And that to my mind that's just messy, and it's avoiding
We don't
the
have the
issues.
benefit. We don't have the benefit of a tribal council. Sometimes tribal councils are where things need to be said.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're where you can truly see someone's cards, and then you get the vote where people actually have to show their cards and put their name to paper or put a name to paper. And in our space, in the politics of our space and maybe business in general, you don't have those moments of truth. So it can be a challenge.
We should have be able to vote out your board members. We should implement this new rule.
I love this, actually. As we're
I love
talking, I'm
it
thinking,
too.
actually, I know
I
I
think
may not-
business
yeah.
survival.
Well, it could be fun. What exists in the world now is if you can't get on the real Survivor, there are these in real life Survivor games, and I always think it would be really fun to take 20 of your
board.
association boards or a board and put them through a real game of Survivor and see how.
Oh my God, that would be amazing, Andrew. Let's do that for Impact in the fall.
Let's do it.
I love it.
God.
I love
Except
it.
minus the $1 million, right? Because I'm not...
Right. No, it'll be
Starbucks
$1 million.
gift card will do.
There you go.
There you
Starbucks
go.
gift card. There you go. Ethan, thank you so much for making our 150th episode special and bringing all your expertise. I do want to give kudos to your interior designer, i.e. your partner.
Lisa, my wife,
Absolutely.
yes.
Looks amazing. She did a great job. I thought it was a fake background at first. It was so amazing.
You should see the rest of the house. You're all invited and welcome to take a tour.
There you go. There you go. Thank you so much. Best of luck with Grassroots Soccer. You're doing amazing things. You're welcome back anytime. Welcome to the Association Transformation family.
All right.
And I don't know, here's to another 150, sir. Andrew, you in it? You committing?
Yeah, totally. You know I am. I'm aiming for 1,000. I'm aiming for season 42, episode 2000 or something. We're going to outlast Survivor. That's the plan, right?
There
We're
you
going
go.
to outdo Survivor.
I might have to have voted you out by then. I don't know if I can take 2000 episodes, but we'll try. We'll give it our best. And
Well, I'm around for it all. I want to see it. You should film it. Let me know.
You'll be back for every 50th,
Exactly.
50th increment.
Sure.
It'll be an Ethan anniversary. That'll be what 50th
Even
is
better.
for.
Now we're talking.
I love it. I love it. Well, until then and until next time, put your members and your mission first.
Hey.